Okay. You have a microphone? My hearing is going down. I had the hearing test done. I have to wait to get the hearing aid now. If you can write out your questions, it will be better for me. Ashraf, take over. See, take over, please. Yeah. If I can hear, okay.
I'll try my best to speak louder.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank
you for coming. And actually, first of all, I'm grateful that you are giving the lecture over Leap Day. We are very grateful for that, and we are learning a lot of things from you. May Allah give you good health and keep you for some time.
Ameen.
So we can be benefited from your thoughts and your knowledge.
Ameen.
My question is about the north of Syria. So Prophet said that Malhama will trigger from the north of Syria. And recently we saw, just 3-4 weeks back, Syria attack on North Syria, which is Kurdistan basically. And also Russia, they send their troops to that particular place, like 100 or something army they send there. So actually I want to know about opinion about that matter. Is it that indicates that is Malhama being triggered on, or is Malhama being begin from that area?
Okay.
So I think they mentioned that Rome will be, landed their troops in the north of Syria.
Okay.
So if you can give your thoughts on that matter, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Try to make your questions short, okay? All right, this is not an easy subject. This is not an easy subject. I need to explain that room in the Quran and room in the Hadith are different. But I don't have the time, okay? But I have a book entitled Methodology for the Study of the Quran, and in that book I have dealt with room of the Quran, room of the Hadith, in that book, okay? Room in the Quran will be victorious twice. Min qabl wa min ba'd. Are you familiar with this? Yeah. Min qabl wa min ba'd. The first victory already took place in the lifetime of the Prophet. A second victory is coming. And when I turn to Surah Al-Rahman, I come to the conclusion that the second victory will come in the Great War. But this is my opinion. Rome in the Quran is Constantinople. And after the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople, Rome is now headed by Russia. When the Hadith says that Rome will land their troops in the north of Syria, we have to go back to Constantinople now and to the words min qabl wa min ba'd. You ask me a question, will take time to answer. I can't help it. Min qabl wa min ba'd. Min qabl means before, min ba'd means after. So these two terms have meaning only in the context of something in between. Do you agree? Do you agree? There must be something in between, in relation to which this is before and that is after. Something of enormous importance in the history of Rome. And that couldn't be anything else than the great schism which broke Rome into two in 1054. One part of Rome remained in Constantinople, and the other part of Rome came to the west, and Allah cursed them. And He said, Kunu kiradatan khasi'in. Be apes, despise. and that's modern Western civilization. So that is room of the Quran, and this breakaway portion is room of the Hadith. This is what is going to land its troops. When Erdogan made this deal with Putin, I don't give Putin much marks for this one. I think Erdogan had the upper hand over Putin on this agreement of this belt that will now be policed by Turkish and by Russian troops. Perhaps Putin forgot that Turkey is still a member of NATO. And by giving now the right for Turkish troops to be in Syria, accepted by Russia, it indicates that Putin has given legitimacy for NATO to be in the north of Syria. Yes. And so we can look forward to a future in which not just Turkish troops, but NATO will land their troops in the north of Syria, and they will have legal cover for it. Never have they had legal cover in the past. And when they land their troops, this is going to be the beginning of the Malhama. Next question.
Sheikh Imran, I'm visiting from the Shia Muslim community. I've been following your lectures for 6 years.
I was just there in the Shia Center 2 days ago, yeah.
Just a quick question. I'm a big fan. I wanted to know, what is your opinion on what is going on in Yemen at the moment? And are you familiar with the terms Al-Yamani, Al-Khurasani, or Al-Sufyani? Because I've not heard many Sunni scholars speak about these figures. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Number one, I'm not boasting. A scholar who boasts, Allah will take away his knowledge. I'm not boasting. Because of my background of international politics and international economics and history of international affairs and so on, that I've studied in 2 universities, Allah has been kind to bless me to pioneer Islamic eschatology. And I've been doing that for the last 20 years or more. But I have been moving forward cautiously, one small step at a time. And I've been struggling to build my eschatology on the firm foundations of the Quran, so that scholars who come after me would be able to trust the scholarship. And I have turned to the Hadith, this is my methodology, to accept and incorporate the Hadith only when the Hadith is in harmony with the Quran. And so I have moved very slowly with the Hadith. And for that reason, I have never spoken on Sufyani and Khurasani and these figures of Akhir Zaman. What was your other question?
The events in Yemen.
The events in Yemen. We are living in Akhir Zaman, the end times, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Anfal, Al-Kafirun al-aduhum awliya'u ba'd, that world of kufr, they are friends and allies of each other. إِلَّمْ تَفْعَلُوا, if you do not do the same, تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. We must reach out to build alliances in Akhir Zaman in order to stem the fitna and fasad in the world. And the manner in which we should reach out is to judge people not just by their beliefs, but by their conduct. one of the most eloquent voices in history on this subject is Gautama Buddha. So when you find a Hindu, you find a Sikh, a Christian, a Jew, who has this profile. Yes, he believes in religion, the religious way of life. He has belief in one God, one supreme God, whether you call him God the Father or not. And he stands up against the oppressor. He denounces oppression. And he's willing to enter into the struggle to liberate the oppressed. We must reach out to them. It would have been wonderful if Imran Khan, the Prime Minister, who has set a noble example of courage and integrity in denouncing oppression in Kashmir. We give him full marks for that. Denouncing oppression in Kashmir. That there is no difference between the oppression in Kashmir and the oppression in Venezuela and the oppression in Bolivia and the oppression in Yemen. You can't sit on the fence because Saudi Arabia is your friend. We wait for Imran Khan to display greater integrity when he can now denounce oppression in Yemen the way he denounced oppression in Kashmir. And I spoke at the Shia, the Islamic Center of England, on Sunday in that conference. And I said that Iran should be at the forefront of denouncing oppression. This is the golden legacy of Sayyidina Imam Hosein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, to denounce the oppressor. Never to bow your head to the oppressor and to struggle to liberate the oppressed. So why? We're waiting for Iran to denounce oppression in Kashmir. I said that over there. Yes, there is oppression in Yemen. And in the same way you denounce oppression in Kashmir, you must denounce oppression in Yemen. Next.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Academics agree that the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople led to the European Renaissance. What did Sheikh?
The conquest of Constantinople is going to lead to the European Renaissance? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's right.
The conquest of Constantinople would lead to the European Renaissance. This has nothing to do with Islamic eschatology. I don't know where it came from now.
Saying in the past, the Ottoman conquest in the past of Constantinople, that opened the way for the European Renaissance, which led to this gradual secularization of Western Europe, Western civilization today.
Okay.
Would the Sheikh agree that that was an additional purpose of the Dajjal?
The Ottomans did a number of good things. I have not researched the subject to that extent to confirm that the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople led to the Renaissance in Europe. For me, the Renaissance in Europe was a negative event, not a positive. Yeah, that Italy now is flowering with art and culture. And what is the art and culture and sculpture? To sculpture naked people. And Michelangelo is honored. What he did was, and he's honored for this, is to take a prophet of Allah, Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, and make a naked sculpture of him. Naked, plain naked. And this civilization honors that. That is their Renaissance. For me, that is evidence of Monkey Town. If you want to understand Monkey Town, read my book, Constantinople in the Quran. We have a few copies at the back. Next.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
I'm at a real battle with my friends at the moment. I'm just going to read it out to you. While speaking to friends and also after having watched your lectures, they say they feel a sense of despair. They say that you give no solutions other than to run away from the problems and making us feel that we have no power to fight back again other than to live far away from the cities. They are insistent that we should be doing more in terms of being involved in politics and the voting system rather than saying, oh well, we can't do anything because Gog and Magog is already out. With my knowledge, I'm at a loss on how to respond to these criticisms.
Tell them there are 100,000 other scholars of Islam out there. Leave Imran Hosein, who is prophet of doom, and go to them and study with them. Next question. I don't have time with these people, no. I'm a serious scholar. I'm delivering serious scholarship, and this is the schoolboy way they respond.
I just want to know about Gog and Magog. Have they been released, and who are they, and where are they now?
Oh, okay, I have to help you to think now. I have to help you to think. I thought I had spoken clearly and with simplicity. So long as you accept that the town is Jerusalem, then you'll understand that those who emerged on the stage of the world with unstoppable power, power delivered by a scientific and technological revolution, and who then used that unstoppable power to send their armed forces all over the world to oppress and to corrupt. And I wish I had another 1 hour to give you evidence of all the corruption. Corruption, for example, in the world of money. Then these people, I said it several times, I said this is a unique event in history. I said this occurs only once in history. It never occurred before, and it will never occur again in the future. When these people take over the world with their power, they will bring these people back to the town. And I said the town is Jerusalem. And therefore Gog and Magog are located in modern Western civilization. However, since I interpreted the town to be Jerusalem, I have to say Allah knows best, because only Allah can confirm that an interpretation is correct. But if I am correct, then this is the truth, and no one can stand in the way of the truth. Next question.
These are the last three questions.
Just a question about the barrier of Zul Qarnain. Is that still visitable at the Darien Pass in Georgia? Can we still visit it? And whatever remains are left of it?
Can we still visit the barrier built by Zul Qarnain?
The barrier built by Zul Qarnain was made of blocks of iron, big blocks of iron coated with copper, and it was used to block Bayna Sadafain. Sadafain is the two sides of a shell like this. So it's a huge barrier. If that barrier was still standing, surely at least one person would have seen it. No one has ever seen it. None. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ was asleep at the home of his wife Zainab. I have a book on Gog and Magog at the back. And he had a vision And he woke up from the vision, you know the hadith, with his face red, flushed. And he woke up saying, Wailul lil Arab, woe unto the Arabs, min sharrin qad iktaraba, because of a great evil which is now approaching. And then he raised his finger like this, and he said, today a hole has been made in the radam. He didn't use the word sad, he used the word radam, built by Zul Qarnain, indicating clearly that the prophesied divine destruction, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ جِئْنَ بِهِ, no, هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكا وكان وعد ربي حقا. When that time comes of which my Lord has warned, He is going to bring down this barrier. This is Surah Al-Kahf. So the destruction of the barrier commenced in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum. In regards to the conquest of Constantinople, the Orthodox Christians hold that as a dead city.
They hold that as
a dead city to them. Based
the
on
Dead Sea.
There.
City belonging to them.
Belonging to them, yeah.
Now, if the conquest happens after the Muhammad, what would the state be with the Muslims that are currently ruling it?
Good question.
And also...
one question. One question. Good question. I commend you on that question. وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابِ, and Allah will teach him the kitab, meaning the Quran. وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and Allah will give him wisdom. وَالتَّوْرَاةِ, and Allah will teach him the Torah after teaching the Quran. وَالْإِنْجِيلَ, and Allah will teach him the Injil after teaching the Quran. Nabi Isa alayhi salam. So when he comes, he will be between his ummah and our ummah. And if you want to be between these two ummah, you need a lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom. And so when the conquest of Constantinople takes place, the wise leadership that will emerge in this ummah, that wise leadership will negotiate with the Christian, Orthodox Christian world, what is called a modus vivendi, an agreement whereby we can live together in peace and in harmony, like we lived in Medina. That is Constantinople. Next.
You emphasize heavily on trying to read the Quran once a month. So my question to you is, as Muslims that live in the West, obviously we're very busy, we work 9 to 5, and sometimes we find it difficult to read the Quran once a month. The only time for some of us would probably just be Ramadan. So what is your advice in order for us to try to follow this sunnah?
Yes, I understand your predicament. I was living in Malaysia. I had permanent residence in Malaysia. It was very difficult to get permanent residence. Well, I got permanent residence in Malaysia. But I found that life was too busy. I had no time in Malaysia to write, and I don't have time to recite the Quran. So guess what I did? I left Malaysia. I left Malaysia. And now it's difficult. It's difficult. But I have the time to recite the Quran. My juz every day you have a juz to complete, okay? And 2 nights ago when I went to the Shia center, I returned to my hotel at midnight. And I had not recited my juz as yet. I was tired. But because it was Suratul Isra and Suratul Kahf, and I had memorized Suratul Kahf, at midnight I recited my juz. Okay? So my first advice is, if London does not allow you to recite the Quran, goodbye London, goodbye. The Quran is more important to me than London. Make hijrah, go somewhere else. Number 2, I got so fed up not being able to find the time to complete the Quran every month that I decided to make a vow before Allah. A vow. I make a vow to you that I will recite the Quran every month, complete it. From the day I made that vow several years ago, I have never failed to complete the Quran. Every month, I complete it. So you can take some advice from that. Number 3, I don't know about you, I don't have a smartphone. I do spend endless time on the telephone. Now, I hardly use a telephone. I don't know about you. I don't like to chat. No. And maybe because of that, Allah helps me to get the time to recite. Next question.
Number 40. Beautiful number. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Walaikum salam.
My question to you is, what is your opinion on those that slander the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's companions and their noble wives?
The companions of the Prophet ﷺ should all be treated with respect. And whoever disrespects a companion of the Prophet ﷺ is doing something wrong which should be condemned. Full stop. Full stop. Full stop. Yes. Next question.
One quick question. You mentioned in this lecture and others about the power of Gog and Magog, and that the powers were such that even a prophet could not overcome it.
No, I didn't say our prophet.
No, the Prophet Zul Qarnain.
Zul Qarnain, he was not a prophet.
Yeah.
I have never identified Zul Qarnain with any historical personality. Never done that.
But he was a man of God.
I have never said that he is a man. Go ahead with the question and I'll answer you.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting because it's opening up some more things. But my point to you is that they had immense powers, they still have immense powers, which are difficult to contain. So I just wanted to ask, because it's so important to know what exactly are those powers, and will obviously Mahdi alayhi salam will be able to overcome them, because that is what I have read from others. But I'd like you to correct me if I'm wrong.
You've opened up a subject that's going to take some time. Take some time. The proper methodology is that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to respond to the question, tell us about the great traveler who traveled to the 2 ends of the land. That's the question posed by the rabbis. And I have analyzed this in my book Suratul Kahf in the Modern Age, which is at the back of the hall. And in response to that question, Allah sends down revelation in the Quran, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ. He does not confirm that they are talking about a historical personality. No. He simply says, Zul Qarnain. So then what is Zul Qarnain? Someone who possesses two qarns. What is a qarn? Qarn can mean horn, and qarn can mean a people, a generation, an age, an epoch. So which one is it? Is it someone who possesses two horns? Or is it an event which will occur twice in history? Which one is it? The answer with proper methodology is to go to the Quran. And when we go to the Quran for the answer, Allah has never used the word qarn to mean horn. Never in the Quran. The word qarn occurs in the Quran many times, but never to mean horn, and always to mean a people, a generation, an age, an epoch. So Zul Qarnain would mean an event which will occur twice in history. And the manner in which the subject matter is presented is that the event is speaking, so to say. The first time that Zul Qarnain manifested itself in history was in the region of the Black Sea, Ainun Hamia, the Black Sea. Even Ibn Kathir says it's the Black Sea. Power emerged in the region of the Black Sea, and that power rested on the foundations of fate, and that power was used to punish the oppressor, and that power was used to assist those who have faith and who are righteous in their conduct. When the event is to recur in history, then we have to look to the region of the Black Sea. That power will once again emerge in the region of the Black Sea, and that power, that immense power, would rest on foundations of faith. And that power will once again be used to punish the oppressor, to be on the right side of history rather than the wrong side. So look to the Black Sea and recognize that whoever controls Crimea controls the Black Sea. And in, was it 2014? Yes, Russia recovered Crimea, and the Western world has been biting their fingers in frustration ever since then. On the first occasion, Zul Qarnain succeeded in containing Gog and Magog behind a barrier, and the world was then safe from them. On the second occasion, which is the war which is coming, Zul Qarnain will again succeed in containing Gog and Magog, so that they will not be able to continue their reign of oppression and corruption in the world. This is the war which is coming. However, our Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, that Gog and Magog will pass by the Sea of Galilee on their way to Jerusalem. So they have to be coming from the north. You didn't do geography, did you? That's good. So Gog and Magog will be passing the Sea of Galilee on their way to Jerusalem. And when they pass by, the first of them will begin to drink the water, indicating consuming water. Reckless consumption of water to make the deserts green. And by the time the last of them pass, they will say, there used to be water here. In other words, the Sea of Galilee will one day run dry. The state of the Sea of Galilee at this time is that it can never recover. It has passed the point of no return. It's just waiting now to dry up. So our analysis is that yes, Zul Qarnain will succeed in containing Gog and Magog at point of origin, which is in the north. But Gog and Magog would also be in Jerusalem. And this Gog and Magog will be destroyed when Nabi Isa alayhi salam prays to Allah. And he sends something which attacks them at the back of the neck, the top of the spinal cord, and they fall down paralyzed. It appears to me, I don't know what you would say, to be a form of biological warfare. And they will fall down paralyzed, and by next morning they'll all be dead. But their bodies will be decomposing, smell. So it was a medical doctor in South Africa, and he said, this is not a virus, this is a bacteria to cause the decay of the body. And then their bodies will be disposed of by birds with big necks. That's the end of Gog and Magog. So my answer to you is that you have to pay careful attention to proper methodology to understand the meaning of the term Zul Qarnain. Maybe I have to write another small book, Who is Zul Qarnain? Because too many people are, oh, it's Cyrus, no, it's Alexander, no, it's this, no, that's not proper methodology. Next, we've 2 more questions. No. Okay. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.